Hello everyone, my name is Rishabh Arora and on behalf of Amritsar Founders, I welcome you all. The topic for today's webinar is Scope of Global SaaS Businesses from Amritsar. Rishabh Mahajan will be presenting this topic today. Now before we start the session, let me take the opportunity to introduce the speaker for the day. Rishabh is an industrial engineer turned programmer turned team leader. After living in Japan for 4 years, he decided to come back to his hometown to build global businesses. He is currently leading 3 startups in industries like social media marketing, tourism, and education. Statusbrew, the company Rishabh co-founded with his brother, is one of the most popular applications in social media marketing space. The company has reached an annual recurring revenue of over $1 million, all while working from his hometown in Amritsar. The company has been featured in many world tech and business news portals. So, without further delay, over to you, Rishabh. Rishabh, I think we need to, unmute the mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's audible. We can start.
Perfect. Thank you so much for introducing me. It was a pleasure. It's a really big opportunity for me to be able to speak to the audience that we have created for the past 1 year at Amritsar Founders. I'm very glad to be able to speak in front of everyone. It's one of the very rare opportunities, or I didn't have a lot of opportunity to talk to people. And when we decided that we would do this presentation today, it was supposed to be a self-containing joke that we would screw this up, but we had a lot of time to prepare. And I thought that I had a lot of time to prepare. So I spent all the time that I had procrastinating until 10 minutes ago when I finished my presentation, which you see in front of my screen. So yeah, this was a the kicker for me to do something and to share the story that we have had in the past 5 years while we have been working in Amritsar. And I hope to share the knowledge and experience that I have and hopefully inspire more people to do and build great products right from our city, Amritsar. So I believe you're able to see my screen. Can someone just check? Rishabh, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, it's visible, so we can start.
Perfect. So we have the presentation. So before we get started, I'll wait for just 1 or 2 more minutes just to let other people join in. And maybe those who have already joined in on Facebook, just leave us a comment of who you are, where you are from, what are you working on. I just want to know who I'm with and who's looking at my presentation. So I'll be very happy to see your comments coming in. I just want to know about you. Let's give 1 more minute, maybe that more people would join in. All right. So yeah, thank you so much. We have a lot of people from Amritsar Founders also joining in on our Zoom channel. So I look forward to having your question also again on our platform or on our work, on our services that we have been working on. So my topic is to how to go about global SaaS businesses while working from a tier 2 city from Amritsar. We chose Amritsar because Amritsar was my hometown and it was easy for us to do anything in Amritsar. And with the power of better connectivity, every year we are having better connectivity in terms of internet. So it makes it easy for us to do internet-based businesses right from wherever we are. In this case, we chose our hometown, Amritsar. So let me get started with this. My name is Rishabh. I am the COO of Statusbrew. It's a social media marketing platform. It's a software as a service business. We are a product company, but we provide our products as a service over the internet. So it's technically a product, but there has been an evolution of how we deliver softwares in the last couple of years, especially in the last 2 decades. So I'm going to talk about what it is, and go on with that. I also worked intermediately for on a startup called City on Pedals. It's a hyperlocal travel or tourism based startup where we used to take our travelers guests over a bicycle around the city and show them the things that they could not have done by themselves. Our guide would go along and they will show things, and we used to get rave reviews, oftentimes 5 stars. I mean, probably it was somewhere around 99.95 times percent times 5 stars rather than any other review that we would get. I had the chance to work out abroad. Right after my college, I was recruited by a Japanese e-commerce company, which is one of the biggest, probably it still is the biggest e-commerce company. After that would be Amazon in Japan. It's called Rakuten. So I had the opportunity to work in Japan for 4 years, 2 years in Rakuten and 2 years in two other companies. I also worked in a small startup where the development team was a mere 7 people or 6 people, and I was one of them, which was a huge opportunity for me to learn from very few people who were taking care of huge amount of infrastructure. So their cost of Amazon Web Services was somewhere around $100,000 per month. That's the scale that we were dealing with when I was working in the second startup. And I also had the opportunity to work with a very small yet distributed team of great minds at Favorite Medium. The headquarters was in Singapore, but I was working from Tokyo. Many of my colleagues with whom I was working with were in Korea, Indonesia, and Philippines. Many of them were again in US. So that was my first experience of working remotely, and that was in 2014. So I've had a mixed variety of experiences working in a software company. I'm so just to keep make some boundaries on this conversation. I'm not going to talk about programming, which is what scares the hell out of many people. So it's not going to be about programming. Rest assured, it's going to be more about a new way of looking at software businesses. Again, it's not programming, but of course, if you understand programming, you would have an easy way of understanding what I'm talking about. So, in case you're looking at starting an online business, particularly in product space, this is what the talk is about. It's about a product. It's not a service, but the mode of transport. So, the mode of delivery of this software is over the internet, but it's a product. So, we are talking about a product. So, in case you are looking at building a product-based company, I think you'll get some good tips out of this talk. So after this presentation, I would want you to understand what SaaS is, the advantages of working on a SaaS-based company in India, and how you can build a SaaS-based product even out of Amritsar. So the ultimate goal is to have a community of entrepreneurs, programmers, developers, designers, uh, product managers. It's about building companies and organizations in Amritsar. So I hope you'll be able to understand or get an idea about it's not that difficult to start a great global product company from our hometown. So let's start with what is SaaS and understand what we're talking about. SaaS is an acronym for software as a service. It's basically third-party applications over the internet, and I already discussed about this. It's about a product, but the mode of delivery of that product is over the internet. There are other models of delivering a software. Most of us would be familiar with the third one that is mentioned over there, the on-premise one. But I would also want to talk about infrastructure as a service and a platform as a service. AWS is a mixture of all of this that I'm going to talk about: software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and a platform as a service. So I would recommend going online and reading about what these are. And of course, again, we are probably familiar with on-premise software models, which is when you get a software on the internet or a USB and you install it on your system. But simply put, as a service means you're delivering a software over the internet. It's a product again, but the mode of delivery is different. So let's talk about the delivery models. Traditionally, and I would assume that many of us who are part of this conversation, they are 90s kids or early 2000 kids, where you probably had an exposure for the first time to computers and the internet. So you might be familiar with how you get your first set of softwares. Probably, and most probably, it would have been a CD or a floppy disk. Some of you might also have had a floppy disk software. I'm not sure. I had it. I don't remember, but I used to have a lot of floppy drives, the 3.14 inches floppy drives. So traditionally, you would buy a software from a store or from a reseller, which would be maybe your friend, maybe a software distributor who's giving out CDs. You can purchase it from them. You would install it on a system, and of course it was supposed to be kept that way, but there was a lot of piracy going on back then, and so people would install those same softwares in multiple places. So that's how such softwares used to be back then. And if there would have been any update to the software, so for example, some of us would already be probably would be remembering Office 2001, Office 2003, and we had to purchase the softwares separately for all these versions. So at every point of time when we would want a particular type of software, we would make a purchase, and that would be a one-time purchase. The example again I already mentioned, it's Microsoft Office. SaaS is a different approach towards software delivery. The usual way where we access, how we access SaaS-based softwares are online. They're typically available as a web browser, web-based application, a mobile application, or an API on top of which other developers can build their applications, and then it can be consumed over the internet. It requires little to no installations. There might be cases when you would be asked to install a software like Slack, which is a great example of a software as a service business. You might be asked to install a software, but you may also be able to access that over a web browser. And the usually, if there are any updates, you'll get it for free. You don't have to pay anything. If you're on a paid plan and they are releasing a new feature, you will get that feature if it is available on that paid plan. Usually how you would purchase that software would be on a subscription based model. It can be a monthly it can be on a monthly period or a yearly period. Some businesses like Statusbrew, we do monthly, yearly, as well as quarterly or semi-annually. It depends upon the customer's requirement and the ticket size. So we allow variations in terms of how we would collect the subscriptions. The example I'm sorry, I missed this part, but the example of that would be Microsoft 365, which is available online. You can use it on your web browser. You can use it. You can also download it and use it on your system. You would have to put your subscription key, or you have to subscribe via the platform. Via the software. And again, as I said, you will get the updates for free and everything. SaaS from an entrepreneur's perspective, and this is something I would want many of us should be excited about, is if you would want to start your SaaS business, what are the things you need to be taking care of? So in order to start your own SaaS business, you would need to have a good domain or industry knowledge. You would need to understand if there are any inefficiencies in that industry and how a software can help you eliminate those inefficiencies, or maybe improve the products in a way that can help you generate more revenue in terms of the businesses that you're supporting. Then you will move on to the development, where again, because of SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, yes, the renting out of software or the infrastructure is so cheap that you can just go online on services like AWS or DigitalOcean, buy or rent out a piece of infrastructure. You would have to write your code, or maybe even hire someone to do the coding for you. And then you can deploy your piece of code on that software, the infrastructure that you have rented out, which is a server, and then you can deploy it as a web application, mobile application, or again, an API. Then we go to the sales part, where you would have to get more customers to buy your product. So you would have now, because of the internet, it's very easy to acquire customers online. You would probably need to spend some money on digital marketing, or you can also reach out to your friends. You If you're working in a specific industry, so you might be knowing some people from that industry for whom you are, building this software, for whom you want to help with your software. So you can reach out to them. The demo can be given online. They can try or evaluate the platform over a free trial, or you can have a free version of your software for a lifetime. Evernote is a good example. Slack is also another example. You can keep on using the platform or the product for free, but for some features, you might want to charge your customers. And then you can provide your after sales again online. You don't have to be on the premise of your customer. You can help them with their support and troubleshooting of the software. You can send them regular updates. In case of web applications, very easy. In case of mobile applications, you usually get a notification that is the update that the software developer has been sending you. And you can also look into account expansion. So for example, in case someone is using Slack for free for a long time, and now they have the money and they want a feature that can help them or become more efficient in their work, they can actually purchase a premium account. Or if they're already on a premium account, but they're looking at an advanced feature or a more premium feature, you can charge them more. So you can look into account expansion. Again, from the entrepreneur's perspective, you don't have to spend a lot of money on the infrastructure, because you are not setting up your infrastructure. You are just renting out a portion of infrastructure from another SaaS or an IaaS or a PaaS company. So it's very easy. You don't have to spend upfront a lot of money. If you want to communicate with your customers, you can do that online. You don't have to travel all the way to the customer's place and provide them a demo or share with them, how the things work. You can just go online, go on a Zoom call, go on a Google Meets call, do a screen share, give a demo. The sales cycles are shorter because, again, you don't have to go to and fro in terms of traveling. It's just the communication that it's there. So you can expedite the communication with more resources that you can provide to the customer so that they can make a better decision or a faster decision. The sales are easier. It's easier after sales because, again, if you have to provide support or troubleshooting, again, you can just go online or over a phone call, just try to understand what the problem is with the customer and figure that out and help the customer solve the problem. And now, because it's all online, you don't have to travel anywhere. You can be at one place. You can deliver your software to anywhere in the world. So this is one of the best parts of SaaS as an entrepreneur. Let's go to the consumer side. From a consumer's perspective, you don't have to have a lot of money in the bank to set up an infrastructure to be able to solve that one portion of a problem in your factory or industry. You can now hire or rent out or pay or subscribe to a SaaS company which provides that particular service. So you don't have to pay for the infrastructure anymore. You don't have to pay for the developers. You don't have to manage the developers. You don't have to manage the program's life cycle. It's all managed by a third-party company, which is the SaaS company that an entrepreneur has built, and you can just subscribe to that service. You don't need to pay for the services that you don't use, which means that so usually with SaaS companies, there are tiers of pricing plans which you can choose from, which means that you have the option to choose the plan that serves the best of your purpose. In case of Microsoft, let's say Microsoft Office, we would have to purchase the whole bunch of software, which probably we would not use most of it, because there is no new use of not use of all of it that is available as in a CD. But online, you can purchase a portion of that software with a lower pricing plan, and in this way, you don't have to pay upfront a huge cost, which is like purchasing that CD, which used to be expensive. Even back a few years ago, when you used to, if you would want to have an Adobe Photoshop application, you would shell out probably 40,000-50,000 rupees. Now you can just purchase a subscription of that, which is much cheaper So even small businesses now can afford the software that they could not before. Sometimes because of this, SaaS is also called an on-demand software, where the traditional software models or delivery models used to be called on-premise softwares. Consumers get a lot of advantage. The SaaS model is very flexible because you only pay for the things that you use. It's highly scalable because as your usage grows, you can go for a higher subscription, increase the number of seats, increase the number of systems. So you don't have to pay upfront anything, but you can pay as you scale your business. It's low maintenance because you don't have to do anything. The software provider is taking care of all the maintenance work. It's automatically updated. So in case the software developer made something or built a new feature which is very exciting, they will put it as part of your plan, and so you don't have to do anything. It's automatically updated, and it's accessible everywhere. You just need to have your laptop or a mobile phone, and you can access your software anywhere. um, Now we'll move to the advantages in India. And before I do that, please let me know your questions. It would be great if you can leave your questions on the Facebook chat so that I can start preparing for it. I'm not going to get distracted, I promise, but just leave your comments. I just want to know who you are and what you're up to. So let's move on to advantages of doing such a business in India. Why India has a better playing field than the rest of the world. We are going to talk about, of course, there are a few disadvantages. We can talk about that over a casual chat, but I'm going to focus more on the advantages for now. There has been a big change in consumer behavior or the buyer behavior. Traditionally, the buyer would have to meet the software seller or a reseller to get an idea about the software that they would have to buy. And then after all those discussions, they would make a decision to purchase the software. SaaS is very different. In SaaS, a buyer can buy, in SaaS, a buyer can find your application or a software online because you have already done your marketing. You are there on the list, or either on the App Store or the list of software rankings. You are already there. So it's not very hard for a buyer to find a good piece of software. They can opt in for a free trial and evaluate your product. So they don't have to get into, of course, it's good to have a salesperson to take care of the customer requirements, but most consumer based SaaS products, a buyer doesn't even have to talk to the customer care or the product manufacturer, product maker. They can just opt in for a free trial and evaluate the product, and that too online. And after their trial period, they can decide whether they are willing to purchase or they should be purchasing the product on a subscription model or not. The physical requirement of, the idea of meeting the software seller has gone. You don't have to meet your seller, or the seller doesn't have to meet the buyer. So it's all online. It's very easy, it's very transparent. So the idea that you don't have to meet your buyer, and in most cases SaaS businesses have their customers outside India. In many cases, many of the businesses would also have their customers in India, but many would be outside. So in even in those cases, it's a level playing field for us. If you have a quality software, you can sell it to, virtually anyone in the world, because you don't have to go to them. They just have to find your product, or you just have to do your outbound, reach out to the customer, and then you can get the customer converted. The fact that India has been everyone knows that the fact that Infosys, TCS, Accenture, all these businesses have done an incredible amount of work in India, and they have created or built up the expertise amongst our people for many specific domains. So we have a lot of domain knowledge or an industry knowledge that we can explore while building a SaaS product. In case you're looking at building a product in, let's say, healthcare, chances are that you will have someone in your circle who has worked in companies like Infosys, TCS, Accenture, who has served a customer or a client in healthcare. So you can reach out to them, or maybe onboard them, hire them into your company and get that domain expertise. So because of these domain expertise that we have, it's easier now for us to build a software for that particular domain. And our IT services, the history of IT services in India gives us a very good advantage. The fact that again in early stage the startups would not have a lot of cash in hand, so they would want to make use of the best amount. They would want to make use of their cash in the best possible way. So in that case, being in India gives us a lot of cost of living advantage, where the expenses are not too much. And considering you would have the same amount of dollars in the US, in the West, somewhere in the US or in India, those dollars would go a long way in providing or making the service, rather than if you were in the US, you would shed out a lot of money on engineering costs or rentals. So in India, you get rid of a lot of those kind of expenses. So in a similar amount of dollar availability, you'll do much more being in India. And again, if you talk about India, you'll do much more being in a tier 2 city than a tier 1 city. And finally, because India is just getting online, every month millions of people are getting online for the first time. They're getting exposed to the internet and the applications, maybe on their phone or their laptop or desktop. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to build software for the next generation of internet consumers. Maybe again, just taking a step back, you might be making a software for a consumer or a business, but that will help your consumer reach out to the mass, or your client, which is a business, reach out to the masses of consumers who are getting online. So you probably would want to look into that. And since India is still highly unorganized in terms of information, in terms of like industries like HR, transportation, education, agriculture, banking, you can look into that, and there would always be some problem that you can solve with your SaaS based product. So I'm gonna get into what we did from the past few years, being in Amritsar and working on Statusbrew, which is a social media marketing platform. It's a software as a service business. Again, we don't meet our customers. Mostly, we don't meet our customers. The customers find us over the internet, and they evaluate our product, and then they make a decision to whether pay for the product or not. So it's just one slide, I believe, that I made because I just finished the deck 10 minutes ago. So we started off with Status Brew in 2011. Back then, cloud computing also started to pick up. So we rented out a very cheap piece of software infrastructure from a service called Linode. It used to provide a simple Linux-based servers. So we would just rent out a bunch of them, and we would run our piece of application, which was on Drupal back then. It's still on Drupal. So we would run our piece of application over there. We would set up our own database application. At that time, Pass was not that famous. So we would set up our own MySQL instances, and most of the product features that we developed during that time was customer led. So customer would tell us what they would need, and Tushar would go back to his desk, build that piece of feature, and then deploy it, and then let the customer know that they have done it. He has done it, and the customer would give us a very good review online, or decide to purchase our software. So in that way, we were able to reach around $30,000 in monthly recurring revenue. MRR stands for monthly recurring revenue. So we were able to reach, by 2014, we were able to reach somewhere around $30,000 in terms of monthly recurring revenue, while being in the B2C space. So our clients or customers were usually the end consumers. Some of them were businesses and their ticket size would be bigger, but most of them were consumers back then. Like a college student, like a artist who's getting started in the social media marketing. So they will buy our subscription, and they would use our piece of software. So we were dominating the B2C space in social media marketing back then, from 2014 to 2017. We were the second most popular application on Twitter. Uh, Actually, this is wrong. We were the second most shared link on Twitter back then. So it was a huge thing for us being in Amritsar. People would not think that you can build that big global company right from Amritsar, and that's the kind of um, thing that we had to break, the kind of thought processes we had to break. And so we were, and because I came from Japan after living there for 4 years, and I was quite fluent in Japanese. So the second language that we supported in the product was the Japanese language. And at some point of time, our revenue from Japan exceeded the revenue from the US, which used to be for most of the most part of our business lifetime, the highest paying customer. But at some point of time, Japan became our highest paying customer. And that also brings to the fact that there is a lot of opportunity in places where not many English speaking companies or English speaking softwares go to. So it's not just Japan where we saw a lot of growth. Even in Turkey, when we supported that, we supported our Android application back in 2015. And I remember some of those days when we used to get notification, or we used to see a surge in the installations from places like Turkey, Korea, and Japan. We would be trending in the app stores over there. And so it helped us understand the value of localizing the product for particular markets. And so by 2016, I think it was the end of 2016, we reached our monthly recurring revenue of $85,000. Back then, it was, of course, huge. We were just a team of, I think, around 10, 12 people. And we were able to reach that milestone, which was a big thing for us. And then in 2017, a lot of things started to change. Even the social media marketing space started to change a lot. And we had to start adapting to this. And this is where we had a little bit of a downfall. We were slow, and we had some internal issues in terms of development, in terms of marketing. And I can now say that we have been able to take care of that, but we kind of lost track somewhere in 2017. And so we had to do a lot of revamping, adaptation, and understanding of where we would want to go. And at that time was when we took a crucial decision to move from B2C to B2B, where we would start supporting businesses rather than consumers. There are many reasons for that, and again, I can discuss about those later in the chat, or you can just message me and I can tell you about this. But the main factor is in B2B that you need to provide less customer support. The ticket sizes are high and the revenue cycles are predictable. In B2C, it's highly unpredictable. And now we are becoming more of a sales based organization, where we are reaching out to the customers, or the customers are reaching out to us. The sales reps are getting involved, giving out the demos, reaching out to the customers whether they would need anything during the trial period, give them as much support as possible, and make them comfortable and make them achieve more with the software, because that's what your software has to do, add value to the consumers work. So we started to focus ourselves on how to generate more value for the customers. And now I can very proudly say that our sales team is growing, and our sales revenue because of our sales efforts are growing. And we are targeting in a short term to reach again back to $1 million in annual recurring revenue. So I'm almost done with my presentation. I just want to leave you with a very simple thing, that this is how Tushar started his global SaaS platform. While, his you can see his untidy desk in the back, and he just got a MacBook at that time, and he started to build that software, which reached out to millions of customers and made millions of dollars. And the humble beginnings were like this. Where we are going after this, after COVID-19, we want to reach our $10 million ARR in the next 5 years. And this is a hook from my side. We are hiring more people. Please let us know if you are interested in some of these roles. We are hiring for sales we are hiring sales development reps, content writers, and software developers. So in case you are interested, or you know someone who is interested in looking for an opportunity to build or work on a global platform, please drop in your resume to hr@statusbrew.com. And finally, thank you so much for being with me on this presentation. You can follow me online on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My handle is the same everywhere, Rishabh Mahajan. I just started a new blog, rishabhmahajan.com. So if you like my blog, please leave a comment over there and let me know what you would like me to write about. And that's it from me. Thank you so much. Rishabh.
Okay, thank you, Rishabh. It was a wonderful presentation. So now we start with the basic question and answers round. The first question that we have is from Saib. He's asking for some advice on marketing your software product. So he's if you have to start a new software product, how do you market it?
So, marketing entirely depends upon the customer for whom you build that software. So, let's say you build a software for a healthcare service. You might want to reach out to the people who would be using your software. So, in order to do that, you would want to have direct communication with them. Maybe do targeting online with advertisements to reach out to them with your product pitch. Maybe reach out to them directly within your network, give them a demo about your product, and then get your customers on board.
Okay. Next question that we have is, what are the key features of your business and how would you say that it is different from other similar SaaS products? Like how is Statusbrew different from other products in the category?
So it's very subjective, and we are best in the industry for some of the customers. We are not best for all of them. So that's how industry works. There's always going to be a space for more than one player, and even if there is a software which is probably the best right now, it would not remain the best in the future. So currently there are some of the features that we have on our platform that that distinguishes us from our customers, which are probably related to the efficiency with which one can complete their tasks on being on on our software. If they are creating a content online, how our simple small features can help them save hours of their work in a day. So this is how we are different from other companies. It would be very difficult to give one feature or a few set of features that would distinguish us, but it usually depends upon how efficient you are or how you make your clients efficient in their work.
Okay. So the next question that we have here is, how can you measure the customer experience and satisfaction? As you are in a software as a service company, and you are right now into business to business segment. So how do you measure the satisfaction of the business that you're catering?
So it's usually you will get a comment at some point of time on your chat channels that thank you so much for building this software. This is helping me a lot in my work. Or if you want to go in a standard way, there is something called a net promoter score or an NPS, which you would ask your customer on how likely are they how likely it is that they would recommend you to their friends, or how would they rate your platform, and it usually ranks from 0 to 10. So you can collect that survey from within your software and get that net promoter score.
Okay. So are there any tools that we can implement to get a better perspective of what the customer is thinking about our product?
Yeah, so you can go online on review sites like G2 Crowd or Capterra to understand how people are ranking your SaaS-based product. Or you can start asking this 0 to 10 rating based questions from within your software using tools like you can search online on NPS softwares. We use Intercom, which is our chatbot or chat tool, where people would send us chat messages if they would have any trouble using our software. And it has a feature where we can ask the customer how likely they are to recommend us to their friends.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Amit. He's asking, do you also deal professionally for organizing, hand-holding, and establishing the startup with the use of all the technology embedded in the same?
Oh, that would be very difficult. It would take us years to be able to help that out. But we can always mentor people. The biggest problem that we see when some, especially with college students or new graduates who would come and ask for help me out with this, and I'm building this software. Can you help us out? I would love to help them out, but I can only spend a few hours in a week or a month. So I can't handhold people to build the software. I can always guide them, tell them this is the right thing to do or wrong thing to do because of my experience. But it's difficult for anyone to do hand holding. I mean, maybe you can also, it would be easy for you to also understand in your business if someone comes to you that it would be very difficult to handle. But yeah, we are always available as Amritsar founders. I mean, we are there to be able to mentor people to build their own businesses, because this is what the community was supposed to be. And this is what we are doing with these webinar series, to inspire, to motivate people to build something, and we are always there to mentor them.
Okay. Another question that we have is from Manpreet Singh. It's a little long-winded question. I'll just brief it up into a single line. Can we use the same methodology to sell a product instead of a service online?
This is what SaaS is about. It's about sending a product over the internet. If you're talking about delivering a physical product, maybe I took it the wrong way. But I'm talking about a software piece of software that you can provide online, where people can access it via their web browser or a mobile application.
Okay, so I think Rishabh, we are done with the questions for the day. Now, before we end this webinar, I'd like to give a basic introduction about Amritsar Founders. Amritsar Founders Association was founded with a view to promote high standards of business and behavior, as well as ethical values within the city of Amritsar. Our mission is to empower young entrepreneurs, grow their ideas, generate employment, and organize a market culture for holistic progress of the business environment of Amritsar city. Hopefully, we all enjoyed this seminar. Rishabh, it was very knowledgeable, and I think the kind of delivery that you gave us about software as a service was a new thing for many of us. So thank you. It was a very nice session. It was a very good seminar. Thank you, Rishabh.
Give me a second. We probably missed some of the comments on Facebook. Do you want to go through them?
Let me check that. Yes, we have few more. We have few more questions here. So let me go through those questions as well. One of the questions is, can you protect your SaaS product or idea from being copied?
No one has the time to copy your idea, to be very honest. If you're in a business, you would realize that many people are working on their own ideas, and it's very hard to copy unless you are very smart, very you have a team of people like Facebook, and you can copy the stories feature from Snapchat. No one has the time to do that.
Okay. Another question here is, what are the legit sites where we can read about SaaS testimonials?
Yeah, so you can go to G2 Crowd, Captera, and to be honest, if you go to statusbrew.com, and at the end, you'll see some of those sites on which we are listed, and we are highly ranked on many of those sites. So you can go there. One of them is, I think, Crossdesk. And yeah, you can go to G2 Crowd and Captera, and you'll get a lot of idea about like the kind of software that is available.
Okay. Another question here is, are there any platforms where we can share our work challenges and help the developers to create a software according to our demand?
I see. To be honest, that is what most of the service companies do. Like there are platforms like Upwork. I believe there are platforms like Upwork where you can post your requirements for a software, and then other software developers can see those requirements, bid for it, and then you can hire one of them to get that software built.
Okay. I think we are done with the questions for the day. Now, one question which has been proposed by some of the members is like your personal tips for making a growth strategy for different businesses, specifically in Amritsar during lockdown.
Oh, actually, I wanted to talk about that. Just give me a second. There was a talk that I was listening to yesterday, and it was a very good talk. They said there are just 3 things that you need to make sure to make your business, to build a good business. One of this was scalability, I think. Repeatability. The first thing is repeatable, whether you have a repeatable sales model or a sales process. Second is okay. I think I remember the three words were repeatability, scalability, and profitability. The first thing means that repeatability means that whether you have a repeatable sales model where you have understand or you have made yourself understood about the industry that you're working in, and you can sell that software again and again and again, and the process is repeatable. So that is one aspect of making a successful business. The second aspect is scalability, whether you can hire someone and train them to do the same repeatable process. In case you are the founder, it's very easy to do the sales. To be honest, it's very easy to be able to do those sales. But if you can hire someone and scale up that repeatable sales process, that is where you hit the second milestone, which is you are able to build a process where you can put in more dollars, and you can get that the sales process scaled. And the third is profitability. You need to make sure your unit economics work. So in case you're putting in more dollars and you are not able to reach profits, then it's a bad thing. But the combination of three things means that you have basically built a cash generating machine. So your business is repeatable, scalable, and profitable. So once you take care of these three aspects, you have virtually built a cash generating machine.
Okay. From my personal perspective, I think Microsoft would fit in there very well, isn't it?
Yeah. So Microsoft so Microsoft was late to the SaaS business. They and Bill Gates also mentioned that many times because of the lawsuits that he was in back in 2000s. He could not think about, or he missed the train of mobile, the mobile space and the SaaS space. But the fact that Satya Nadella, he was smart enough that he was able to bring a lot of his software into the SaaS space. Now they are basically minting cash because they have figured out their SaaS models.
Okay. So I think Rishabh will have to end this session here. It was a very knowledgeable session, and we might not have covered all of the questions, but we covered most of the common questions here. So that's all for the day. Thank you for being our presenter of the day.
Thank you so much for joining this presentation. If you have more questions, just leave in the comments and or join us in the Amritsar Founders meetings or Amritsar Startups meetings. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the session.
All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.